Saunders, and we're live. Pep Talk UK. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and please like this video. It's me, Jay Alby, joined with the legend Kenny Ken. And yeah, we're going to go over some boxing topics. Pep Talk's not had many live shows for a week or so, so look, we're going to go straight into it. In that, we've seen some of the news in that Chris Eubank Jr. trying to bait Billy Joe Saunders maybe into a big fight. I don't know what your opinions on it, Ken. We're gonna get everyone. Please get in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are if the fight was to happen again. Do you think it should happen again? But also get in the comments. We'll talk about last week's boxing events. Obviously, what happened over the weekend and some news that's been happening today and yesterday in the boxing world. But yeah, Ken, how are you? And nice to see you this evening.
Nice to see you, mate. How you doing? You good, yeah?
Yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, just looking forward to some good boxing hopefully coming up in the next few weeks. So football's been very interesting, so that's kept me a little bit busy in the sport world. But obviously, the boxing is what I love more than anything. But no, yeah, all good, Ken.
Yeah, but talking of like the interview, so there was a couple of interviews. There was actually an interview with Chris Eubank Jr. in the IFL. Then there was like a live press announcement where Chris Eubank was like I said, promoting Wasserman's partnership with Sky Sports and Boxer, and obviously Billy Joe Saunders did his reaction to that as well. He touched on the Chris Eubank Jr. Goading, but also touched on other situations. Obviously, his fight with Canelo and his future prospects and everything. So it was a very interesting talk. But in terms of like Chris Eubank Jr. and Billy Joe Saunders, that's always going to be like the itch that Chris Eubank Jr. Needs to scratch. He will never admit it. He'll always talk up himself, and he'll always be in denial that he lost. And actually, the fact he went to a split decision had a lot to do with the fact that he couldn't work out Billy Joe Saunders in the first fight. Me and my wife were there, and it was an experience in itself that perhaps a Billy Joe Saunders fight live is. It's debatable whether it's a good experience because the etiquette of some of his fans need a lot to be desired. I mean, stand in the seats and like you own the place and have shown pure disregard for for the paying public who can't get to see the fight, and they have to copy you stand in chairs or try and get into ringside. It says a lot. So I'll need great persuasion if I'm going to watch another Billy Joe Saunders fight. But in terms of the fight itself, I think Chris Eubank Jr., I don't know what he was playing at. You don't give a great fight like Billy Joe Saunders all that, all those rounds, and then you play catch up, and some of your big shots did land, but some of them were missing because you've got a good skillful fighter. So what I think will happen in the next fight, we just don't know. Is Billy a shot fighter? Is Chris Eubank up and coming? We've been saying Chris Eubank's been up and coming for the last 8 years.
Now as well, Ken. Yeah, he's 32.
Exactly, but how many times? How is he up and coming? There is a point. Who have you fought? Why have you been inactive? Why have you not fought? These fighters. You talk a good game about you want the big fights. Well, I'm sorry. Well, when was the last time you had a big fight? 2018, George Groves. Apart from that.
Billy Joe Saunders said it today. Every time he has actually stepped up, he has actually lost, and we can only go on evidence. And to me, he reminds me of he likes to pit people off when they're a bit wounded or at the end of the career, like James DeGale. He wasn't the prime James DeGale when he took him out. It's a good win on the CV. If you look at it, it's good on paper.
Oh yeah.
If you break it down, it wasn't a great victory where James DeGale was.
To a certain extent, it was because he did what he had to do. He took James DeGale out, and I apologise to James DeGale that I didn't mention him as well because James DeGale did. I think he was a great fighter. I don't know. He had his achievements. I don't know. You look at it. If you look at between him and George Groves, George Groves won't beat him in the amateurs, beating the professionals, but if a two-time world champion, but was George? But whose achievements were better? James Gale's got better names on his record than George has, and every time George fought at the level, for the exception of like Chudinov, he's lost as well. You know what I mean? But James Gale has won at the highest level. Yes, you're right. James was a bit of a shot fighter, and he retired at the same time. But George Groves
I don't
problem
like to say shot fighter, Ken. What I mean is, obviously, James DeGale in his prime, I think, would have beat Chris Eubank in Chris Eubank's prime. It wasn't a hungry James DeGale. He had the wars, and that because obviously, like you say, James DeGale is one of my favourite fighters of all time. So I don't mean it in any disrespect. I just think that Chris Eubank picked the right time to fight DeGale because he knew
100%.
if he got the win, it's good on the CV.
That's still good. That's still good win on Chris Eubank Jr. CV though.
Yeah,
because he's been a two-time world champion, and yeah. Well, to a certain extent, it's something to have on his TV. If you look at Billy Joe Saunders' CV, the only name on there for me is Andy Lee, and maybe an up-and-coming Chris Eubank Jr.
What about
Billy
David
Joe
Lemieux?
Saunders. Was that?
David
I'll
Lemieux?
give him. Lemieux. That was a very good thing. I'll give him that as well. But in terms of first it's Andy Lee. But if you look at Billy Joe Saunders, he's fought middleweights, isn't he? You know what I mean? He fought Murray. Murray just before lockdown. You know what I mean? So Billy Joe Saunders can't physically say that he's had the great names himself. Although for me, technically, he's a better fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. But I just think that Chris Eubank Jr. gets it together, gets a proper trainer. Because if I want to make an excuse for Chris Eubank Jr., he was training himself because Ron Davis was just no trainer. And that's no disrespect to Ron Davis, who I think is a great boxing man. But I think that there was 3 people in that marriage. I mean, his dad, then you got Ron Davis. And what was going on there? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a crazy situation. I'm going to get into some comments quickly. Textbook Puncher 1 says Billy Joe already beat Eubank. Also, Michael Rowley says, I would like to see this fight and think Eubank wins this time. Obviously, we'd like to hear your opinions on how you think Eubank will win. So please get in the comments. Let us know how you think the fight would go if it happened. Sawyer Maitland says, it was so close the first time, will be so close again. I don't think it will be. But like I say, we appreciate your comments here at Pep Talk UK. Get in your opinions. Let us know how you think the fight's going to go.
The biggest elephant in the room as well. The biggest elephant in the room is Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, he's got to deal with the zone. He would make MTK. But Billy Joe Saunders, if you look at his interview, with IFL TV, the buzzword is always, and it's not just with Billy Joe Saunders. The fighters that Boxer and Rosamund have signed, is they want to fight on Sky Sports, and I think Billy Joe Saunders made that very poignant statement. Sky Sports. Now that's no disrespect against his own, but it just shows it's one of those things where Sky Sports has been a great partner for boxing. Fighters are able to make their name. At the end of the day, if you're well known, you get on Sky Sports for a massive platform. I do think that Sky Sports is a better platform for British fighters. I say that the Zone is probably a good platform for our friends over the pond. But in terms of established British fighters, there's still the buzzwords I'm hearing from all of them who've gone with Boxer is because they want to stay with Sky. Josh Kelly obviously wants to stay with Sky. I know Gorman mentioned it as well. And
sorry to interrupt. If you think about it, it's a good business move for some of these fighters because obviously at the Zone you're kind of a small fish in a big pond. But where Sky Sports is starting from scratch again, these fighters that might be not as seen as the biggest assets at this time can go to Sky Sports at this moment in time and be the assets. You're looking at Josh Kelly, a big talent, obviously was really raved about. He's gone to Wasserman.
Do you think that one of the attractions in going to Wasserman is because he wants a rematch with Avanesian?
It could be, but I also think that I think Eddie Hearn's seen that maybe there's qualities in Josh Kelly, which there is. Look, there's no doubts. But I've always said this. I don't think he's changed from the amateurs to the professionals as quick and maybe as smoothly as what people think. And after 3 or 4 rounds, you've seen Josh Kelly. His tank engine goes when he got that draw, which he was lucky to get the draw in America. As soon as it went past the 4th round, he struggled. And then against David Avanesian, We saw it again. Looked sharp for the first 3 or 4 rounds. You think, look, first 3 or 4 rounds, he's one of the best boxers in the world.
But he's not the first. He's not the first fighter to have that. We always.
He isn't.
We've always said we had
Eddie Hearn
has
let him go. So obviously, there's this, Eddie Hearn has seen that maybe at this moment in time, go see what else is out there, and obviously it's a good opportunity for Josh Kelly to start afresh.
Do you think it was Eddie Hearn who let him go, or do you think that a lot of fighters got frustrated with the kind of not getting on the enough rosters under first with Sky with Matchroom? Because I know like Huey.
It's a bit of both. It's good business sense. Like I said, Huey, a great fighter, obviously struggling to get fights at the Zone. He's one of many heavyweights, so they can't focus on him as much. He's not maybe going to get as a promotion. Goes to Boxer and Sky Sports. It's a new, fresh start there. So at the moment, he's one of the big names there at heavyweight, and it's a great push and it's a great promotional.
Moving this further, because obviously we've got a massive fight next week. What do you think about Anthony Joshua? Does Anthony Joshua stay with shop around, or does he make the same decision as as a lot of fighters? Obviously not as massive as him, but does he say, right, I can just do my whole thing with stay with Sky, because Anthony Joshua's made a major signing, hasn't he? A certain person from Finchley has joined Anthony Joshua's management team.
Yeah, no, I think AJ will go as a independent on his own. I think he'll do what Canelo does, so where he'll be able to negotiate with whoever. He won't be restrained. So it doesn't mean he won't fight on Sky Sports box office again. It just means if the right deal and the right fight comes an opportunity, he will fight there. Same if it with and look, say if there can't be an agreement with maybe Sky or DAZN for the Fury fight, AJ's in a position where he can say, okay, I'll go over to fight on Top Rank and I'll do it with my management and have them as co-promotional kind of thing. You see it with Canelo. You see David Haye started off like that in his career. Near the end, it was Haye Promotions, Haymaker Promotions, and you see it with a lot of these fighters. They like to do that. So I think he'll go independent. I think he'll go solo with his management team, and he will just fight whichever deal is the best deal at the time, which will be DAZN, because he has a great relationship with Eddie and they might have the money at the moment. But like I say, it won't stop future fights happening on different stations, which
there's no doubt about it. But I think what's happened is that Sky have got their card. Sky just have to sell themselves well. But I think I suppose the roster is less crowded now. A lot of the fighters have stayed with Eddie Hearn, and it's there's a good opportunity for, as you said, for fighters to start again on a big platform. Sky, they're going back to basics in the same way they went back to basics 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's exciting. I'm going to go to some of the comments quickly. Please join us, Pep Talk UK. Hit that notification bell for all the latest videos and all the news and great interviews. And also, please subscribe. We're trying to hit the 20k. And also, like this video. Get your questions in from me and Kelly. I'm going to read a few out now. We're going to go a little bit back to the Eubank and Saunders debate quickly. Albanian boxer 555 says, speaking of Eubank, met him. He's a humble lad. I'm sure he's a great guy. A lot of these fighters have a persona. They go into sort of a character mode. And look, I think personally for Chris Eubank Jr., where he's 32, I would have got out of that kind of that pantomime villain at the moment. You saw it with Tyson Fury. He had that. He beat Klitschko. And when he come back, it was a different type of scenario. He wasn't the pantomime villain. It was a different story. And I think he matured. And I think fans appreciate that. I think if Eubank come out, and I'd have a lot more credit for him if he was offering out an Andrade for the world title, looking for someone like that instead of looking for. Look, Billy Joe Saunders is a wounded animal, and for me,
that's probably what. That's why he's called him out,
no, he has. But what I'm saying is that tactic for me. I know it's not. It is a fan-based sport, but also the way that Chris Eubank goes is he wants the type of fans where they're going to watch him whether he wins or loses, and that's fantastic. You need that, but sometimes I think to get to that next level, you need the support to flip round and be fully behind you. And I think if Eubank, with his new trainer, with his new kind of attitude, I think if he come back and said, look, I want Andrade, I want a world title, a lot more people have more credit for him, because that's the ambition. You were in this sport to win world titles and make a lot of money. And from my experience, winning the world titles, then the money follows. It's very hard to get the big money fights without the titles. And if you listen to Billy Joe's interview, he pretty much says that the CV doesn't match up for him to really be up for the Eubank fight. That's why he's offering a big money. He's saying, look, offer me 5 mil. I may take it. I may not.
Yeah.
But the CV is a British title and an IBO world title, which people say isn't really a world title. But if he went and beat Andrade and then come back in 6 months' time, Saunders might think, okay, that is worth taking. But I agree with Billy Joe
it looks like Saunders
I
might
don't
fight
think
Andrade himself. He might fight Andrade himself, judging by
which
his
should
interview.
do because he's a champion. Champions want to fight champions and fight good opponents, Ken. And that's the thing. Chris Eubank Jr., let's be real. Look, I think I don't mean any disrespect or any ill harm or anything like that when I say what I'm saying about Chris Eubank. I'm just saying, personally, I think the tools are there for him to be a great fighter, to be a full world champion, maybe even a 2-weight world champion. But I just feel like he needs to focus more on maybe, I don't know, maybe looking at different opponents. I don't know what his career path is in that. But it's very rare you hear him offering the top dog.
It seems to be one man.
He offers,
His career path is one man. It's not Billy Joe Saunders. It's Golovkin. You know what I mean? That's all he talks about.
Yeah, but look, Golovkin ain't the even Billy Joe Saunders said it, Ken. He goes, look, I could fight a Golovkin. I'd love to. I respect the guy. I think he's a great fighter. But will I achieve anything fighting the Golovkin of now? This is what I'm trying to say, the difference in mentality in fighters. Eubank thinks I'll go in with Golovkin because I'm fighting a fighter that's on the decline. He's age. The odds are better for me. And look, for him, that's great. And it looks great on the CV. But why is he not offering out the prime fighters, the Andrades? He offers Canelo out, but does he really want the Canelo fight right now? I
don't think it makes sense for any fighter at the moment to fight Canelo, except for boxing reasons. You're only going to fight Canelo for a payday. He'll beat you. And I'm talking about certain light heavyweights as well, because Canelo is the payday. Canelo is like boxing equivalent of the Indian cricket team, in terms of like the payday in cricket is India. One day as 2020s and Test cricket, and the big, and in the Premiership the biggest payday is Man United.
He's the Ronaldo of boxing.
So Canelo is boxing equivalent of Man United and the Indian cricket team, and that's why everyone wants to fight him.
And
do they believe they could beat him?
Call out as well,
not really. What's that?
That's what makes it's just an easy person to call out, because if you say you want Canelo, it makes you look good, thinks you got the balls and the nuts and that. But it's it's just a throwaway comment, isn't it? It's just to try and get people talking about yourself, really. Which Billy Joe says that Chris Eubank does quite a lot. He says things just to stay relevant. In this game, like you say, he's inactive quite a lot. Look, even Billy Joe said he's a nightmare to get negotiation deals done with.
Well, Kell Brook benefited from him and his dad's behaviour, didn't they?
Yeah, it is true. And Rolex says in the comments, Saunders smokes him. Look, I don't know how the fight will go. I think Chris Eubank has a better chance this time than the first time they fought, because obviously he's more experienced. Obviously, Billy Joe's coming off a big loss. Is the motivation there? As I said again, it's a bit like the James DeGale. It's not so much maybe, the ability goes down a bit, but it's the hunger. And if the hunger ain't there 100%, and then the other guy's hunger is 100%, 9 times out of 10, the guy who wants it that little bit more will win. Doesn't matter on ability in that as much when it gets to that sort of level. And I just feel like
if another elephant in the room as well. Chris Eubank Jr. knows what he did wrong and what he did well in that fight. And the things he did wrong was basically like not being able to deal with the southpaw stance, thinking that that he had enough energy and power to knock him out, which he didn't. He came once he discovered the problem. He was very, very too late, and with throwing punches, he won some rounds quite significantly. But it's just too late. You don't give good fighters head starts. So maybe that's why maybe Chris Eubank Jr. does feel a bit of confidence. But again, Billy Joe Saunders, he's another one, in my opinion, who has motivation issues anyway. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one could tell me that in a lot of Billy Joe Saunders fights that he's been worth the money. There's no way Billy Joe Saunders can ever be trusted to be a pay-per-view fighter. because the simple reason is that you have to have a big fight. If it's just a run-of-the-mill fight, you think, you know what, I just want this to end. He ain't going to knock him out. He's going to toy with him, and it'd be over 12 rounds. And you're thinking, you know,
And also,
pass me a
really
hot drink.
The sport now has changed, hasn't it, Ken? Where fighters are training all year round, and Billy Joe's that old school mentality still. Where I think when he's not in a camp, he pretty much alluded it in his interview with IFL that he said that he needs to be fully invested in a camp if he's going into camp, and he takes a certain amount of time out.
True.
And out of camp now, if you're putting the weight on, you're going in, like as people always say, you're going in the camp to lose the weight instead of on tactics and stuff. And I just feel like a bit like Kell Brook. He looks a lot better now, Kell Brook, and he's at the later stage of his career. And obviously, I think he's got maybe one more fight in him. If they'd done that their whole career, earlier in their career, I think it could benefit him in the long run.
Well, you say that. You say that, but it goes the other way. I mean, Carl Frampton was always thinking that, you know, when he trained under Shane McGuigan, he was absolutely knackered. And that, you know, one of the reasons why he retired, because, you know, where he feels he retired prematurely, because he was knackered because of the fact that he trained all the year round.
What's that? From no training. What I'm saying is that's overload. So that's a different type of the conversation that I mean. That's an overload. What I'm on about is from maybe doing 1 or 2, maybe 3 sessions a week, which could be light sessions just to tick over, to, you know what Billy Joe's like and Ricky Hatton used to then no training. You're probably out on the lash. You're eating fast food. You're not in fight mode at all. You're seeing, look at Anthony Joshua, even Canelo. These fighters are taking a week off now, if that. Some don't even take a week, but let's give some of them credit. And what they deserve. They go away for a week, and then on the second week they're back in camp, Ken. And it's not full camp; it's light work, ready for when maybe a couple of weeks time or a month later they can get in the full camp.
I'll make you right. But you know, I just think that, you know, that it can go the other way, and you know, like
it can.
And I do think, you know, that you know, sometimes when you train all the year round, you know, the temptation to make sure you're fully fit will lead to burnout. You know what I mean? I mean, some people who you say do like training, they can't do it. They have to train. Training has to be hard. You know what I mean? At all times, and I think that's where you will get, you know, maybe the sort of burnout that Carl Frampton felt towards the end of his career.
Yeah, definitely, because you can get burnout, Ken. And look, I'm going to go into something else in a minute, Ken. We've got a few comments, and you all about that training. I think it's perfect because there's a comment in the comment section here. But first of all, Saunders, another few comments saying Saunders win. But Ben Adams says we're going to go off a little bit. We did speak a bit about Canelo. But there's a question here. What do you think of Andre Ward helping Caleb Plant for the Canelo fight? There's been a few clips in that of Andre Ward in the gym.
Andre Ward's the best.
Do you think that's good?
I think it's fantastic. Andre Ward's one of the best fighters of all time. You know, people talk about GOATs. Well, I always say to myself, why is Andre Ward not described as one of the best super middleweights of all time? Because the simple reason is his record suggests he is.
Yeah.
You know, he's flawless. I don't see any flaws in his career. In terms of his makeup, no flaws. You know, people think that he's elusive, good boxer, blah blah. Let me tell you something now. He is a hurtful puncher. People don't associate him with power. Don't associate with power. But ask Carl Froch how he felt after Andre Hall did to him, because Andre Hall did just outbox him. He beat him up. Carl Froch will never admit it. But you look at Carl Froch's ear, it was a bash up.
And his nose.
It was a bash up.
I know his nose always gets bashed up, but his nose was bashed up.
And his ears.
And his ears. Yeah, top of him.
Yeah. He murdered him.
Yeah.
And then when he went up light heavyweight, look what he did to Kovalev. Kovalev can scream and whinge all he likes. The first fight, when Kovalev put him down, Kovalev boxed well, but Andre Ward boxed better, and he was getting stronger in the second fight. The second fight, where Kovalev had a chance to prove that he was the man, he got battered. Sorry to say it, not trying to be horrible, but he actually got battered. It was a beat up. Don't talk about low blows. Andre Ward hit him right in the solar plexus, hard. But the signature part was the right hand, which knocked his block off. You know what I mean?
I think he's a goat. Look, Ken, you can't argue. Look, Andre Ward is a great pundit, and look, top respect to Andre Ward, absolute student of the game, and he's very smart. And look, he got out of the game very young, and he had his wits about him, and I think he was able to do that because he literally accomplished everything that he could accomplish in the sport, and he was satisfied with that. And
won the Super Six. You know, tamed the Russian hard hitter, who beat some very good fighters on the way.
Look, it was pretty much. Look, I know Canelo's went down. It's been middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight. But look, like we said just then, Andre Ward done that, and I think what a fight that would have been. Andre Ward versus Canelo, a super
Andre
middleweight.
Ward would beat him. Andre Ward would beat him. Andre Ward is the best.
Look, get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do you think the Canelo of right now?
No, it's going to
right
beat
now,
him.
Canelo.
I think
they will, Ken. I think there will be a few. Don't doubt yourself. I think Andre Ward's a great
fighter. A lot of people are going
fighter.
to say Canelo, and I'll shake their hand and agree with him. But for me, my opinion, I think after Andre Ward will take him out.
Big statements there from Ken. Look, get in the comments, please. Hit that notification bell. Pep Talk UK, please subscribe. Hit that like video. Get in the comments. Let us know. Jeff Brady says Andre Ward absolutely brilliant, and look, he was a great fighter. And look, I think it's anything that guy can pass on to Caleb Plant is going to give Caleb Plant a little bit more motivation. And look, you can't argue with someone's experience. As Kenny said there, he's one of the greats, if not one of the best super middleweights of all time. Went up to light heavyweight, took that crown there, to beat the best light heavyweight on the planet. And look, an absolute flawless career. And I think anything that Caleb Plant can take from that guy, please soak it in like a sponge, because as we've said, it's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take to beat Canelo, and Caleb Plant's going to need everything in he can to take Canelo out. And it said here, Courtney Kettle says, Warm needs a tune-up fight before facing Canelo. I don't think he would. I don't know. He keeps himself.
Ward's done. Ward's done.
He is done now,
in their prime. But right now, Ward's finished. He doesn't need to fight. Doesn't need to destroy his legacy. He's got no money problems.
It was prime fighters, people, in the comments.
Yeah, it's prime fighters. But I just think, you know, if Andre Ward and Canelo fought in both of their primes, Andre Ward's one of the. I think the only fighter in this, modern times, better than Andre Ward is Floyd Mayweather Jr. I say, right, in terms of like the modern times, the 21st century fighters, I'd say, right, Floyd Mayweather Jr. And then, Andre Ward is definitely up there. I'd put Andre Ward above, quite a lot of fighters. And if you talk about super middleweights,
Joe Calzaghe and
Andre destroys him. Andre destroys him.
There's another one for the comments. Would a prime Andre Ward beat a prime Joe Calzaghe, Ken? That is a great debate.
Yes.
But look, in the comments, it says you got a supporter, Ken. Jeff Brady says Andre Ward at peak would destroy Canelo at peak. So look, Ken, I told you a few people would agree with you. It's not one of them claims where it's that ludicrous. It's pretty much like saying who'd win out of Liverpool and Man United. You could argue both teams. Look, there's valid points for both. But look, that's what I said. Don't doubt yourself, Ken. If you believe that Ward would beat a prime Canelo,
I have no doubt.
Go for it,
I've got great respect for both fighters. But when I talk about, if you talk about middleweight, great super middleweights, and you have like big names, Andre Ward's up there with all the great super middleweights of all time, 100%. I mean, Carl Froch. I don't know whether Carl Froch says it's tongue in cheek, but Carl Froch, that's it's said that you made more. You're probably the most exciting, and you had 80,000 Wembley. But if you fought Andre Ward in front of 80,000 Wembley, I think he knocks you out this time. You wanted a rematch. You didn't really want a rematch of Andre Ward, did you? You wanted a rematch with Kessler, and you didn't particularly want a fight with George Groves. But when the rematch was at Wembley Stadium, you saw that every seat was filled. You went, oh, what a bit of that. But let's face it, George Groves was one who sold that fight. So Carl, you know what I mean? So Carl Froch, you know, respect to him. He's fought some great names. He's got some great names on his records and some fighters he beats. But Andre Ward Ward would have beaten all the fighters you beat at the time, and he actually did. And he beat you, Carl.
Yeah, no, he did exactly. And Courtney Kettle is also on your team, Ken, saying Prime Ward would be a puzzle Canelo couldn't solve if they fought it. So Courtney saying that maybe the skills and the tactics from Ward would. I think I know what Ward would do. He'd throw a couple of jabs. He was an awkward. He was southpaw, if I'm correct, as well, Andre Ward. So
no, Gerald was an orthodox fighter. But what Andre Ward does is that he gives you no room whatsoever. No room. Everyone just assumes that he boxes you, but what they don't understand is an extremely strong individual, and that if you're a puncher, you will get no leverage for any of your punches. Carl Froch is one of those fighters who needs room. Andre Ward in that fight, in the Super Series final, stood in front of him.
He's got great IQ. Yeah, he does intelligent holding. That's what I call it.
It's not even that. What he did, he clamped him for room. And he actually took the fight to Carl Froch. He didn't run away from
Fury's
Carl Froch.
tactics to Wilder. If you watch the fights, their fights are similar in the sense that, like you say, Andre Ward was known as a defensive fighter, but he kind of took it to him a little bit. And as you said, closed the range so Froch couldn't take no power punches towards the Ward. So yeah, you're spot on there, Ken.
And hit him with very, very hard punches. Didn't knock him out, but I sometimes, you know, I think the best thing that could have happened to Carl Froch in that fight is if Andre Ward knocked him out because he tortured him.
Yeah.
And that's worse. That is worse than actually being knocked out for me as a boxer. Those getting them beaten like that retires you just as badly as a knockout would.
Yeah, because it was a slow beating. Like you say, it was over 12 rounds. And as you say, sometimes like when you get hit with a big shot and you get knocked out, you can say, look, it was a great shot. You take it on the chin. But when someone outboxes you, and I think that's what hurts Carl Froch. He wasn't able to. He couldn't solve that puzzle. He couldn't figure out how to.
Much worse than that, Jay. Much worse than that day. He got beaten up. He actually got beaten up. He got beaten up in the school playground where the geezer wasn't just box jabbing him. He was hitting him very hard and actually injured him in that fight. He injured him. Him.
No, I agree. I think, like I said earlier, it was a boxing clinic. And look, I want to get to some of the comments we've got here. We've got Jeff Brady says the only fighter that could have tested Andre Ward at 168 would have been a haggler if he had fought at that weight. Look, he didn't fight at that weight. Look, it's difficult to say. Let us know with fighters similar in the weights. Look, Ken said another one. He thinks a prime Andre Ward would beat a prime Joe Calzaghe. I think that's a great debate. I think that's really open for people to get involved. So please, in the comments,
I'll stand by that.
UK,
Matt, again, you're talking to a massive Joe Calzaghe fan who I know would absolutely torture Carl Froch as well. Because I think, again, he's another fighter who would not give Carl Froch any leverage through his punches.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Look, I'm going to go
to Carl Froch puts him Carl Froch will probably put him on the floor, but he'll get up and do outpoint him still.
Yeah, no, I think, look, people get in the comments. That's a great thing that Kenny mentioned there, and get your thoughts on it as well. Get involved. Boxing Source says, yes, Les, how we're doing? We're doing great. Please get involved. Let us know. And look, there's a fight for Chris Eubank Jr., Ken. I want to go back to that a little bit. We're floating around the middleweights, super middleweights, talking about some of these fighters, and I think a tough fight for him, which he says that he probably wouldn't entertain, is Liam Williams. We've seen Liam Williams go on a great run.
It's a derby, isn't it?
Be a tough fight. Yeah, I think it'd be a tough fight for Eubank.
Unfortunately for Liam Williams, it'll be a very good fight. But I think what will happen is that he's got the power. But I just think Eubank has just got too much speed. And it will be a situation where Eubank will avoid his punches and hit him. And that's another thing. Yeah, I think it'd be similar to his fight. In my opinion, I think it'd be a similar fight to the fight that he had with Spike O'Sullivan, where Spike O'Sullivan, he was getting caught. Eubank Jr. was getting caught with some big punches, make a lot of mistakes. But when he put his foot down and it was a sense where, you know, Spike O'Sullivan needs to be safe from himself, and I think that will happen with Williams. It will definitely happen. If Williams catches Eubank, and he has to knock him out and put him on the floor and knock him out, because if he doesn't, then and Chris Eubank Jr. Decides to be more elusive and use his speed, what will happen? It won't be exactly the power. It'll be this accumulation of combinations. Some of them might not even land, but the ones that will land are accurate. He throws a lot of uppercuts, Chris Eubank Jr. And I don't care what fight you are. If someone's hitting you and throwing combinations, but a lot of those combinations are uppercuts, and they're catching you, dangerous.
Yeah.
Ask Gary Sullivan.
No, I think with Chris Eubank, I think that's the thing with him. I can see the quality in the volume of punches that he throws. I think his shot selection is very good. As you said, Kenny has a good uppercut. I think he has a good straight right. I think his jab could be quite effective if he used it in the correct way. I think it's his footwork that, for me, Ken, you can see it. I think Billy Joe Saunders alluded to it in his video. His footwork is terrible. And
of course he's off balance.
He's off balance.
Badly hurt.
Yeah, and when he comes in with them 3 or 4 punch combos, he's so square on in that he's he's going to take a few shots. He is tough. The guy's got heart. I will give him that. He hasn't been knocked clean out. His losses have been on points. The George Groves fight, I did feel like he did get beat up. He got manned up in that fight, and George Groves manned him up.
He was completely unprepared for what was coming. He clearly. George Groves. What people seem to forget about George Groves. I've been next to George Groves in Manchester Station. George Groves is a massive man, a big boy, wide. And his shoulders are massive. There's a reason why he's never been able to accept a Carl Froch fight, because Carl Froch is this skinny lad, ripped. But George Groves, the reason why George Groves was extremely confident of beating Carl Froch, because he actually thought, you know what? You may have the bigger punch, but physically I'm stronger than you. And he's a lump, he is. He's a lump. I've seen him.
Yeah, he's a big guy, George Groves. And no, I totally get that, Ken. And look, we've got some comments here, Ken. We're going to get into some of them. We've got Johnny Boy 1989 says, Billy will beat Eubank again. Also, Johnny says, Eubank is a domestic fighter. Billy is a world-level fighter. I mentioned it earlier. I went over. That is a good point. Like we said, look at what Billy Joe won. He went from when it like English title, Commonwealth, British, European, 2-weight world champion, and Chris Eubanks just won the British and the IBO. Which look, I would never dismiss anyone winning a British title. It's hard. A lot of fighters don't win a British title.
Well, it's prestigious. It's just prestigious because.
But I think what Billy Joe was meaning by that was he hasn't won more since then. There's not more. There's not more on his shelves. There's not more titles to be bringing to the table. And I think, look, Fresh BX says here, man, Billy Joe Saunders or Eubank need to fight Andrade and stop ducking. That's what I said. I think that would be a great fight. Eubank Jr. It's for a world title. I hate fighters that don't go for world titles. That's what I think
the thing with Andrade is that I think a lot. Billy Joe Saunders says, "All right, I'll fight Andrade, but it's got to be here," because he thinks that what will happen is that if he'll get more money, he'll get a bigger cake from the British fans. He does, maybe they feel that an Andrade's fight.
Box office, Ben. I think that's the aim that he wants to get. It will help.
I'm not sure Demetrius Andrade is box office material, but he might be box office material here. But he won't be box office material in the United States.
No, not in America. But I meant Sky Sports over here. If Sky Sports want to do pay-per-view still, look, I'm not saying it's worth pay-per-view, but Sky are going to go back to the old model. I think they're probably going to go $9.99 with the early pay-per-views, and people like.
Do you think so? But don't you think the genie's out the bottle? Don't you think the genie's out the bottle? How can you go from 20? How can you go from like 20 quid or £25 to $9.99 for pay-per-view? The genie's out the bottle.
No, for that level of fighters, look at the zone. It's $7.99 a month, Ken. It's going to. It's not going to be hard.
But that's rising. Sky set their limit at 20 quid, £29. Are they going to be able to reduce it?
Yeah, but are you going to pay £29 to watch Chris Eubank Jr. on Sky Sports box office? You've
got
to go with the market.
I don't think Sky's will go $9.99.
Well, it might be $15.99, maybe $14.99.
Could be.
But what I'm saying is they're going to lower the price plan because they're going to have to, and they could do big fights. Look, you could have Eubank Jr. versus Andrade, like we said. You could have Huey Fury fighting maybe a Filip Hrgovic or someone like that, because they're like Wasserman and Boxer, they're all going to be working together. You could throw on a Savannah Marshall world title fight on there. Richard Riakporhe signed with them. He could have maybe a
Yeah,
European title fight or
that's a good
a
signing
white
for them.
title
Massive
eliminator.
signing.
You got Nathan
I mean,
Gorman. There's 5 fights there. That could be a good $14.99 pay-per-view.
See, all the fights you've mentioned, it hasn't escaped my attention that they were during lockdown when there were dates. They weren't exactly getting dates. The dates that I thought they maybe should have got. So you come out with some very good points there. All those fighters you mentioned, they feel they weren't managed properly and they weren't getting the ability to get some dates and make some money. So they feel Sky's going to be able to put them on the rosters. It's all about the rosters.
That's it, Ken, because you've got to think about it. We go to football quite a lot because football and boxing, it goes similar in hand, something like the fans and that. But if you look at it, say if you're at a world-class football team and then you get signings in the summer, 5 or 6 signings, there's 5 or 6 people in that squad then that have gone further down the pecking order. There's less opportunities in that, and that's a bit like a boxing roster. You think about it, the zone of them moved out, took all the Sky's roster, and then now they've got to slowly start filtering out fighters. They've got to work out who's going to be the prime fighters, who's going to be the ones that are going to be moving forward, who's going to be the future, who are the fighters now. People like Josh Kelly, at the moment, it's like, where do I fit in that? But I could go over to Sky and be one of the big names over there. Richard Riakporhe is exactly the same. And that's the opportunity they're going to take. And like same with Nathan Gorman. He probably fought with Frank Warren. He's got a lot of heavyweights. Daniel Dubois is one of them. Joyce. Where am I in the pecking order? Am I being maybe getting the right opportunities that I'm going to crave? Probably not. So look, I'm going to go to Wasserman, probably Sky Sports. Let's see what we can do there. It's a different opportunity. Same with Huey Fury. So look, there's a lot of fighters out there. I'm going to go to some of the comments quickly. Cobra Frotch. So maybe a Frotch fans in the comments says, I like Eubank, but he's fighting nobodies at the moment. He wants fights for a payoff.
Yes.
Billy Joe Saunders would still be too crafty for him. Exactly that. We went through some of them points earlier and there's a few different ulterior motives for maybe Eubank Jr. wanting that fight. For Billy Joe, I personally would say, unless he got the Canelo rematch, which I don't think he would get because of the way that he got beat.
He's a fool. No one's going to want to watch that after that ended.
I would retire because I'm a massive fan of Billy Joe Saunders and I'm a believer in don't have that one too many fight because we're going to go into it in a minute, Ken.
Is a rematch to Chris Eubank one too many fight, or do you mean that?
Because I believe if you're going to go out, in your career on a loss, you should go out to the best in the world at that moment.
But what about a derby? Don't you want to do a derby, a domestic derby?
It's low.
It will make you money. It'll be money.
High risk for low reward. For me, it's high risk, low reward for Billy Joe Saunders because he's already got a win over Chris Eubank. If they never had fought and there was just that beef over the years, a bit like Kell Brook, Amir Khan.
All right, say Chris Eubank somehow gets a world title fight and Billy Joe Saunders is still sniffing. That's another fight, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that changes the scenario of what I'm thinking right now because at the moment, right now, Chris Eubank Jr. holds no significant wins. He brings nothing to the table, and what I'm trying to say is
he's marketable.
Who would you rather lose to, Canelo in your last fight or Chris Eubank Jr.? I think it would hurt Billy Joe Saunders' pride if he lost to Chris Eubank Jr. in his last fight. A bit like James DeGale. I bet James DeGale wishes he never took that fight. I honestly believe that. I believe that.
You know what I say about fighters right now. There's a reason why they're called prize fighters. It's a name, isn't it, Jay?
Some of them are smart fighters. Billy Joe Saunders.
I always say it's in the name, innit? They say the word prize fighters. They don't say anything else. You're a prize fighter, and when you're a prize fighter, that's exactly what you are. You know what I mean?
No, that's true, Ken. And look, I think this is what I'd do. If I was Chris Eubank Jr., and he wants that fight badly, I would fight Andrade for the world title, and then I would offer Billy Joe Saunders a mandatory chance because you bring in the bread to the table. Billy Joe Saunders can become a 3-time world champion, earn some mega bucks, also get the bragging rights because it's a big derby, like you say, Ken. It's a big fight.
What makes you think that Andrade won't beat Chris Eubank Jr.?
I think he will beat Eubank Jr. I'm just saying, that's the way you got to go about it. If you want to be a champion, beat a champion, and then fight the guy that beat you. Like, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I remember Ric Flair always used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Oh,
And that seems to go in the sport nowadays.
Oh, Ric Flair, what a pork chop he is.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
Ken, the saying is correct though, isn't it? To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah,
and,
mate,
and,
you're
and
right.
there's no point. What's the point? What is Eubank waiting? Is he waiting for a 40-year-old world champion to fight him to then become world champion?
Yeah.
For me, look, you've got some of the comments here going on. We got Billy Joe Saunders is somewhat overrated. Eubank's underrated. No, Billy Joe Saunders is overrated and Eubank Jr is underrated. I think the fight is close like last time. That's GV Universe. Ra says get Billy Joe Saunders a vacant shot at a WB title when Andrade vacates. Eubank WBA unification next summer. It's all down to whether Billy Joe's got the hunger to fight a couple more times. I think he only wants one more fight.
Would Billy Joe Saunders want to fight for a vacant title, or would he want to fight someone who holds the title? It's a different thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a different mentality.
No, exactly. And look, Ken, we're going to go on to the next thing. You said prize fighters. We know fighters are prize fighters. And look, we're going to go into some general topics now. Please get in the comments. We're going to go over a few stuff. If you want to get involved, get in the comments. Pep Talk UK, hit that notification bell. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And this weekend, Ken, we'll go over it. David Haye versus Joe Fournier. Was that prize fighting, or was that just good bit of business by David Haye fighting a rich friend, getting a bit of money?
Say what you like about Tony Bellew, but Tony Bellew he's got the perfect Scouse wit. I mean, they say Scousers, right? They say a lot of things about Scousers, but one thing about Scousers, not only are they eloquent speakers, they got some wit. And as he says, wherever there's a pound, you'll find Davis. Where there's a penny, you'll find David. And, you know, it says it a lot. And it was not just Tony Bellew who said it, you know, Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, does anyone believe that David Haye is skin? I wouldn't think so. But again, Tony Bellew says, wherever there's a penny, David's there. And you got to look at it. I watched that fight and I thought, I didn't watch it. I watched the whole highlights and I thought, the good thing about the whole situation was that I was happy that Fournier wasn't hurt. I was happy that David Haye allowed him to have the dig, you know, like the bragging rights of I've come forward, and I've gone put it at David Haye, but I couldn't catch him. But I gave him a good workout. I think the only one who had a workout was Fournier, because David Haye was just made sure, you know what, this is a mate here, and this isn't a prop. This isn't the way it's being done. I'm not going to hit him hard. I'm just going to jab and move and toy with him, and that's what he did. He gave the public what they wanted. The public who bought the fight on Thriller and paid to watch that. And I used the term loosely, fight. They got 8 rounds of 2 minutes. David Haye delivered on his promise. In that he didn't say he was going to knock him out or put him in hospital. What he did is that he delivered value for money for those people who bought that rubbish.
Yeah, no. Look, I think David's very smart, and we've seen Eddie Hearn say before he's great at promoting fights in the way that. And I believe there is a motive behind it, and I think the motive was to call out Tyson Fury as he did. We'll go on to that in a minute, but I think what it was he's got a rich friend, a billionaire, Joe Fournier, also a boxer. Triller's there throwing crazy money around. And I think what David wanted to do, he wanted to fight someone that wasn't going to be maybe even a cruiserweight, but a top-level fighter at heavyweight or cruiserweight, shall we say, where it was going to be maybe a step too far, because as we saw in the Tony Bellew fights, he wasn't very fit. He got some injuries. Not fit in the physical sense before people go crazy in the comments. I mean fit in fighting fit, as like you get in football, match fit. He was a bit inactive, and things like Achilles injuries are going to happen. And we see that in both fights. He wasn't fully the David Haye of old, and credit to Tony Bellew, got the job done. But
Tony Bellew did him a favour. Did him a favour by knocking him out.
Yeah, but in this fight, I think what was clever was he fought someone that was a light heavyweight. I think Joe Fournier's weight. He was a lot smaller, but it was someone that wasn't going to hurt David. Do you know what I mean? And I think what David wanted to do was he wanted to get in there in the lights and fight someone where he knew he was going to get a win, but see how his fitness was. But I think that could be a bad idea because it isn't really. It was basically like a spar, wasn't it? Let's be real. It was like a spar.
It was
controlling it with his jab. When does David Haye control the fight with his jab? He doesn't do that. That's not his style. So you knew that David Haye was just playing with him. But can he fight a Tyson Fury? Come on, Ken. Let's just get down to it. Can he get into the ring with any of these big boys?
Everyone in boxing knows, including Tyson Fury, that Tyson Fury is just letting him a bit of his spotlight. If David Haye is a heavyweight boxer and you're a full world champion, who do you want to fight? He doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua because he wants to fight Tyson Fury. Why does he want to fight Tyson Fury? Because we were meant to fight. They were meant to fight 8 years ago, but David Haye pulled out of injuries. So he thinks, well, that's a fight that could have happened, and I want that fight now. Is he really serious about fighting Tyson Fury? No, he's serious about telling everyone in boxing that I'm here, I'm available, I'm ready to fight, and put me on a show.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think Ken might be joining us again. I don't know what happened then, but yeah, Ken, I think he should stick to fighting. And you lot at home with Pep Talk UK, David Haye should stick to fighting people like maybe a Roy Jones Jr. or maybe even a Mike Tyson or someone like that. I don't want to see him fighting anyone. And look, we go to some.
I'm back, Jay.
And
yeah, sorry, Jay, I'm back. But before I got really interrupted by a slight technical issue, which I fixed. What I was going to say is that David Haye is basically telling the public, I'm available to fight. Does he want to fight Tyson Fury? No intention of fighting Tyson Fury. He just wants everyone to know that if you give him a few paid fights, he'll build up to the Tyson Fury fight. And then when the public finally realise what David Haye's game is, they're going to say, well, you know what, that's it. We're giving you a free fight deal. And that's it. Go away, go and manage a few fighters, and then who knows? David Haye is a very, very marketable fighter. He's done a lot of good things for boxing, and the British public are fascinated by David Haye because he's got one of the best right hands in boxing. It's ironic that fighters like David Haye and Deontay Wilder, who are not particularly big in terms of heavyweight terms, hit bloody hard. I think the only person in heavyweight scene hits harder than Deontay Wilder, hits harder than just less harder than Deontay Wilder. David Haye. The people are going to say, "Oh no, sorry." Tell me a fighter in boxing hits harder than Deontay Wilder. If you don't believe me, ask Tyson Fury because he talks about his power all the time.
Yeah, no, it's true, Ken. And look, in the comments here, it says here, the Fury that David Haye should be fighting is Tommy Fury. So people not really looking forward to that or interested in maybe where that could go.
Tommy Fury is for me. The good thing about that is that he generally prefers the fight game. It's what he does, and I've got a lot of respect for him in that. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's what you want to do. But again, it seems like Tommy Fury's got himself in a situation where someone has advised Tommy Fury that that it's better to get involved with Jake Paul. I don't know what they're fighting over. Instagram followers. You know what I mean? Tommy Fury, will kill Jake Paul. He'll murder him.
Well, hopefully that's the next fight, Ken. But I think it's something to do with a bit of Twitter beef, and I think Jake Paul insulted his girlfriend.
No, I think what's happened is that he wants to fight a live fighter, and he wants to get his name in Britain. Tommy Fury, because of Love Island, is a massive, star amongst young people.
Yeah, no, people are saying in the comments, George Foreman, it's harder than Wilder. I think Ken was on about active fighters now. What fighters?
Oh, no. They've got a good point. Yeah, George Foreman's definitely up there because
there's a lot of fighters, smaller fighters. In
terms of Deontay Wilder, a lot of people have said that Tyson Fury said his jab nearly took his head off, and that was what about his right hand. So and then everyone talks about Tyson Fury. Evander Holyfield talks about like when George Foreman hit him, he went, "Oh my God." George Foreman, but at that time, didn't have the sort of speed but he still had the power, and that's why he was still marketable when he came out of retirement at 38 in 1988. Where
Yeah.
he is a concise fighter. Let's not talk. And it was a genuine knockout for Michael Moorer, and what he did to Jerry Cooney as well. He absolutely battered him.
Look, Ken. Look, people, please, look, Pep Talk UK, please hit that like button, please hit that notification bell, and look, get in the comments. We're talking about some of the boxing news at the moment. If you've got anything in the comments that you want me to bring up, me and Ken can talk it over, get some debates going. But look, we're going to end that David A talk now and go on to what I thought was an absolute disgrace, Ken. I'm going to get into it right now. I think you know what I'm going to get into. The main event on that card, which, look, I know it's been a few days, but it's still playing on my mind. Evander Holyfield versus Vidal Belfort. Look, I'll start and then I'll let you finish, Ken. I thought what one commission said, look, we don't want to put this fight on. Got to fight. I looked at the training videos and you could just tell, even when someone's not very good, and Evander Holyfield was one of the best, but you can see that the guy had no punch power. He had no reflexes. I listened to a few interviews. Brendan Sharp in America, ex-UFC fighter, does below the belt, and he was saying about a year or two ago, I think it was, he saw Evander Holyfield at a charity event, and he said he was struggling to stand up. He was struggling. He had someone there helping him to do things, and he just said, "I can't see how he's going to cope in this fight." And that was last week.
I've got two words. I've got two reasons why Evander Holyfield decided to fight.
One reason, finish, and then you jump in, Ken. You wait. Let me finish 1 minute, and then you can jump in and go for it. But what I don't like is that when he coming down to the ring and he was waiting, and then when the first punch hit him and you see him go across the ring, I just thought, what have they done? Because the guy just couldn't even, the simple of, and it's just down to his age. That's just it. He's had a long career. The guy's had so many wars. His body it couldn't even just take the simple, and what I didn't like is that, look, no disrespect to Vidal Belfort, a great UFC fighter, but for someone like that to now say that they've done that to Evander Holyfield, and it was meant to be an exhibition fight, apparently they weren't meant to go at it like that. It just looked to me that it looked like someone that took an opportunity to think that I could beat down a legend here and run with
it. When you get in a ring, there's no friends in the ring. There's no friends in the ring. But
but things like that, that's what I didn't like, Ken. It shouldn't have happened. And if it did, because you saw it, he threw a left hook, went through the ropes. He couldn't even keep his feet from throwing his own punch. And you saw when he got knocked down and got up, as soon as he threw a couple of punches, the ref stepped in, and that was the right thing to do. But I just thought, I'll let you come in with your two reasons, Ken, but I just thought it was a disgrace. And out of all these fights that have been put on,
simple.
That was the worst.
I've got two reasons why Evander Holyfield came back. One's called Mike, the second one's called Tyson.
Yeah, but is he going to get that after that, Ken? I'll tell you what, Mike Tyson will knock Evander Holyfield out. Yeah,
well, no, he doesn't exactly want to fight Mike Tyson, but what he's seen is that Mike Tyson, when he fought, like I said, Roy Jones Jr. for an exhibition, they made a lot of money. And he says, hang on here, I beat Mike Tyson twice. And my record, although everyone thinks that Mike Tyson's an exciting boxer, I can beat him. So he's hang on, I want a piece of the action as well. That's the only reason I can think of him for coming back. There's no other reason for Evander Holyfield to despite what people said about his condition last year, it's Mike Tyson.
And what was so bad about it, Ken, is that I don't want to say this, but I think most of the people in the comments, you, me, I think anyone who could throw a couple of punches would have beat him that night, and that's how bad it got. Because the guy, it just wasn't great to see a legend like that. Ken, come on, let's be real. David A's
unfortunately, in boxing,
58.
Of course, he's 58, but the problem is that boxers have massive egos, and when you have a massive ego or you have a tax bill, then what will happen is that you're very much in danger of destroying your legacy, because simple reasons that if it's your ego and you see your peers making a lot of money, getting a lot of recognition in an exhibition fight, and got themselves in great conditions for that fight. You think, hang on here, what about me? I won all that. I want a piece of the pie. Or if you've got a tax bill, and then again, it's another thing.
And also, if he's got ex-wives, in America, it's different. I know in America you get divorced and near enough half your earnings go to your wife,
I've heard that there's a lot
of
child support.
I don't know. Yeah, a lot of child support. So yeah, in America, that's not cheap. That's very expensive. And look, I'm just like, look, the Mike Tyson that went in with Roy Jones Jr. would have knocked Evander Holyfield out and around. It would have. What happened the other night would have happened with Mike Tyson in there. And I think with Mike Tyson, how old's Mike Tyson, Ken? Is he 54, 55? I know he's a couple of years younger.
Mike Tyson turned 55 in June.
Yeah, that's pushing it for me. That's pushing it on the age limit. But watching him compete against Roy Jones, maybe, but 58, and you got to. I don't want to be ageism because I believe that anyone should do anything to whatever age they possibly can do it in that. But he wasn't in any fighting condition where I think his body was too frail. And that's why one commission said, we ain't putting this fight on, Ken. We ain't doing this.
Yeah, but it's a commission, but how many people paid tickets to watch that because of his name? Everyone's made money. It's not clearly at his expense. But 100% at his expense. But it's one of those things where the guy got paid. He fulfilled his wishes, and you know what I mean. Hopefully, now people have seen how badly he was hurt. They will never, even dream of doing that again. No one's going to pay to see that again. So again, he's going to have to find another way of making money. But again, if I've heard Evander Holyfield and he's slurring his words, then you can't even give him punchy work, can you?
No.
So
exactly.
What do you do?
They've got to do a thing in maybe boxing is where they do offer ambassador roles and roles in organisations that if you get someone who was, if you look at someone like look at Evander Holyfield, a legend, WBC champion, someone like the WBC or the WBA or someone that gets these ex-fighters and they use them to go around
in massive heavyweight fights. They do fly him in. Evander Holyfield has been flown in for the big heavyweight fights. Lex Luce obviously is doing his commentary, but I've been to big heavyweight world title fights where Holyfield's been in the crowd, so they do that anyway.
Yeah, no, that's. I don't know. I'm just coming up with something as a suggestion, maybe a program.
Well, again, he will do it again. His pride. If
I don't think they're going to let him, Ken. The commission's not going to let him. What commission's going to let him now?
That's the thing. For all of Frank Bruno's problems, financially, despite the fact he's had great issues, in terms of his health, both mentally, Frank Bruno is he's managed to keep himself financially secure because he's had good advice. Whether you get that good advice in the United States, I don't know. You probably do, but again, wives, especially when you divorce them, have to be paid.
Yeah,
and you have kids. Child support's massive.
Yeah, especially with like Evander, he's got a lot of children. So look, hopefully we don't see that again. As I said, it was one of the worst fights I've seen so far.
Well, it's a bad effort for boxing.
It was a very bad day. And look, I'm going to jump into some of the comments quickly. Prince Teddy says, just join the stream. How are you guys? We're great, Prince Teddy. Good to see you. Also, Prince Teddy says, Kenny's letting us down recently. No tank top tonight. I think a few of the fans wanted to see the tank top out tonight.
Don't get me wrong. You
still see the guns, people. You can still see them. Look. They're there. Look at them. Look at them guns. That's what we're. That's why he's a gunner, because he's got the guns.
Yeah, but you know what it is, guys. Remember, I don't wear these for show. You only wear clothes if they're clean. If they're not clean, you don't wear them. Doesn't matter how good you look in them. You have to wear clean clothes. That is probably some of the wisest words you will hear. Pep Talk UK. You only wear clothes because they're clean. That is fantastic, Ken. I absolutely love that. That is great. And Courtney Kettle says, imagine being one of Holyfield's kids watching your old man getting knocked out like that.
disgraceful. Look, we went over it just then. It wasn't great to see for boxing. Like Kenny said, it was probably one of the worst days for boxing.
Unfortunately, when you got fighters that have Evander Holyfield, you got people like David Haye, still think they got it. I still believe that's the only thing they're good at. A lot of young kids are gonna see their dads humiliated.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and it's I believe, like you see it in the golf, when you get like the like the legends, they do like a tour, don't they? When they retire and they're on a separate tour. Maybe with boxing, maybe there could be a separate, like maybe tournament or league that for like maybe like over 45s or 40s. Maybe when you retire, it's just semi-pro fighter, ex-professionals can do it for maybe another 5 years where they're at that level, and that can get them out of their system.
I could do.
I'm not sure. It's crazy.
Evander Holyfield has made a lot of money. He's made millions.
I heard Ken, he made a lot of money Saturday night, but he was skint by Monday because he had so much to pay out. So he's probably, like you said, he might be looking for that next payday already.
Look, if there's going to be, if at the end of the day, if you're a big name and you put bums in seats, there's always going to be a promoter who's going to sell you, like a fight, and you're going to say yes because simple reasons that, who walks away from that kind of money, especially when they need it?
That's true. And look, you said it earlier, prize fighter. And look, it's going off in the comments, Ken, a little bit. And I'd like to say, did you see Anderson Silva's KO of Tito Ortiz? I know these are MMA fighters, legends of MMA.
I saw bits of it, but I couldn't really analyse it because I'm not really. I could analyse it. I say it was very. It was very. It
was a nice knockout. I got to admit,
it was a very brutal one. But that's all I can say. Brutal because I don't know much about that part of the game.
Well, Anderson Silva, Ken, in his last fight, he beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's come over. He's beat a boxer. Obviously, we've seen Chavez Jr. He's been a bit of a disgrace in boxing the last few years. Never makes weight. Really shamed his father's name.
That's two things I don't like about boxing. Boxers who fail drug tests and boxers don't make weight.
Yeah, no.
And I think you know what? That is actually interlinked. You're going to see a lot of situations where boxers are going to be taking banned substances in order for them to make weight, and that is going to be a regular occurrence for the next few years unless this is regulated and more investigations are done because. That's what you're saying. That's what you are going to see for cutting corners. The only way you cut corners is that you can sweat it off. You can go for runs, stay in the sauna. But that if you want to accelerate the process, there are stimulants out there, but they're illegal. Not just for boxers, for all sportsmen.
And they all get lists, Ken. Look, they all say they don't know what they have, but they have teams around them nowadays. They got
come on. There's footballers.
They got
how many footballers? How many footballers have taken diet pills? Footballers got to make weight when they come out from pre-season, and they take their wife's diet pills, don't they? Or Jurassics.
I don't know what they take, but obviously people take supplements. And what I'm saying is, Ken, they don't even need to know what's in these lists now because what I'm saying is they got teams around them that do know. They got a nutritionist who would know what's on the list. They've got people making their food for them. So, look, I just want to go into this comment.
But you're not with them 24 hours a day. If they refuel in between having their meals prepared, then they're not going to make weight.
A lot of these fighters, they're having nutritionists come around in the morning, Ken, and they deliver their day's food or whatever, and they'll be back around the following day. They know what they're taking. We'll get to that in a minute.
All elite sportsmen will definitely have it, but there's still when you have fighters who can't make weight. For every fighter who can't make weight, you've got a failed drug test because because they have to have a world title fight. If you don't make weight, then you cannot have a sanctioned fight at for a world title, which is not going to happen. So you are going to have situations where they are going to take banned supplements.
Yeah, and
to make weight.
But look, we'll go into that in a moment, Ken, because there's a couple of things I want to go into that. But Ben Adams says in the comment, Anderson Silva would KO David Haye or really rate Anderson Silva. It's crazy to think Anderson Silva's 46 as well. He's got great hands, great boxer. I think he should fight Logan Paul next. So I'm going to throw that out there. I know Ken don't really like all the YouTube fighting and that, but for everyone in the comments and that, I think Logan Paul, Anderson Silva is a great fight.
I think YouTubers take money out of proper fighters' fight, but you know, I have a massive understanding of markets and what people want. Young people who want to be interested in sport want to associate with people they heard of, and if so invariably, if you want to get young people in the game into boxing, then you are going to have situations where, you know, you're going to have people, you know, younger people who are going to buy the zone because they associate with the presenters, younger people. And, you know, Maya Jama, though I haven't seen Maya Jama on many shows since then, I know what's happened there, but that's not anything that's part of this show. But I'm just giving an example. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, KSI, you know, they are very marketable for a new, you know, for a younger market. There is a new market out there for YouTube fights, you know, and, you know, promoters and TV stations hate it, don't want to be involved in it, but advertisers and TV stations like young YouTubers. I don't know what it is, why they're loved, but we have it a lot in football, especially British football. YouTubers will be invited if on the big match, Football Focus, Sky Sports, BT Sport. If you want to talk about normally back in the day, if you want to talk a Man United fan in the street, they'll probably pick you out at a game and say, right, Jay, blah, blah, blah. Now they get people from United Stand or someone who does you know, Don Robbie channel. If they want to talk to an Arsenal fan, they'll just go for someone from AFTV, you know, most not, you know, regularly Robbie Lyle. That's the thing. YouTubers, the reason why they go with YouTubers is because that's what it doesn't cost them any money. They just turn on their computer, right? Bloody hell, he's got a lot of views. Yeah. And for his video, and he's got a lot of subscribers. Yeah, advertisers want to be in. Oh yeah, let's get him on and make him an expert. And it's the same boxing. A lot of subscribers. Those subscribers will buy those fights and will watch the fights. So what they do is that they said, right, we're gonna give them a platform and put them top of the bill. And what they do is they get commentators, not the conventional commentators. They'll get a YouTuber to commentate on that fight, be one of the co-commentators, because again, these young people want people they've heard of, someone younger. You know.
No, it's true. And look, it's the way the world's moving at the moment. And like you say, you obviously got the zone and what they're doing there. And look, please hit that notification bell and also please subscribe. Pep Talk UK. It's me, JLB, Kenny Ken. We'll go for another 10 minutes or so, Ken. 10, 15 more minutes. We'll go over one more topic in a sec. But it's just difficult in this world. And keeping on with that, Prince Teddy says thoughts on Vidal Riley leaving Mayweather Promotions and possibly joining KSI's boxing promotion team. To me, it makes sense. Obviously, Vidal Riley's a YouTuber. He's great friends with KSI. He's KSI's trainer. And a lot of these UK fighters, you see them go out to America. They go to Golden Boy, Mayweather Promotions, and their career don't really go off anywhere. They don't get.
Well, look at Savannah Marshall. I mean, that was the biggest non-event ever when she went with them. What was going on there? What went on there?
Exactly. It's exactly. And look, it's crazy stuff. And you got Liam Horgan says, honest question, what quality opponent has Billy Joe Saunders beat? Look, we spoke about earlier. Ken went over a few. Andy Lee, David Lemieux. There's a few fighters there, but we went over that at the beginning of the show. Please check it back. Rewatch the video. Pep Talk UK. JLB Kenny Ken. And also, Ben Adams, does Kenny wish Ronaldo joined Arsenal? Look, we don't want to get Kenny involved in all that at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on. You know what.
You have to be realistic. You know, and you know, great players like Messi, Ronaldo, you know, have the right because of what they've done here to join a big name team that they generally believe can win the league. And you know, would Ronaldo join Arsenal? I would love him to join, but it'd be a fault to join us. You know, he's at the right place. You know, if you know, Man United have got Pogba, they've got Sancho, they've got Fernandes, they also got Van der Beek, you know, and you know they've got Greenwood coming through. They've got obviously Cavani in things, so they've got a very good. And obviously got Pogba. They've got a very very good group of attacking players who can feed Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the cool finisher. 2 games, 3 goals. I expect Cristiano Ronaldo to smash the Premiership record. One, because there's a lot of games where I think defensively a few teams still make mistakes, especially on the counter attack. And 2, he's going to get so much service. I think he's going to smash it. And I think one of the reasons why Man United probably didn't win the league last season, we even challenged properly for the league, is because games where teams put men behind the ball, they just couldn't break them down, especially at Old Trafford. But with Cristiano Ronaldo now, he's capable of just getting one good chance, he's putting it away. And if he doesn't, put away the first chance, he's putting away the second chance.
No, that's true. And look, that's what
he's that kind of player.
Yeah, that's it. World-class athletes in whatever sport they do, is they're clinical in their profession, and they're great at what they do, and that's why they're called elite sportsmen. And look, Ken, we'll wrap it up there. It's been great to speak to you tonight. Love speaking boxing with you. We'll get back on as soon as possible. We'll get some more news going, get some more shows up and running, and we've got loads to talk about. But where can everyone find you, Kenny Ken? Let everyone know your social.
Well, they could find me on Instagram and Twitter at KennyKen1972. And last Sunday I had a really, really good laugh with because my daughter went to Crystal Palace and she went to the like I said, one of those events. I even forgot what it's called. What's it called? What's that for? What's that thing? It used to be at Finsbury Park, but it's now at Crystal Palace. What was it called again?
Festival,
what's that?
Is it a festival?
Yeah, it's a festival. I forgot what it's called. You know what I mean? All I know is I let her go, and I actually got the train to go and meet her from Highbury up until Crystal Palace. I met some lads who recognised me from YouTube. We had a good conversation with about the boxing. So
That's great stuff. That's what we like, Ken.
Yeah, but they were talking about bands that I've never heard of. Migos. I never heard of them. I assumed Migos was like a cocktail. And then they started talking about a rapper called K-Trap. I said, what's that? They said, have you heard of them? They were talking about it as if I heard them. I said, I'm 49. How am I going to know about all these guys?
No,
I said, man, I need to get my daughter. But I told my daughter about it. She started saying, well, come on, Dad, sort it out.
In the comments, they said it is wireless. I thought it was wireless.
Wireless. It was wireless. Sorry. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
It's wireless. It was. Let me tell you something that I've never seen so many people go to place. And one of the things I didn't understand, I couldn't kind of reconcile with myself, is that you pay £85 a ticket, and I'm assuming that when the doors open at 12 o'clock, you're there from 12 to 9:30. But some of them were thinking, well, they probably just turned up with just to see one band, and that was it. And I'm thinking, I couldn't understand that. You pay all that money, but you don't turn up on time. But maybe I'm an old man.
The world's gone crazy, Ken. The world's gone crazy. But look, we'll wrap it up there. Everyone, please hit that notification bell. Subscribe to Pep Talk UK. Look, I've been Jay Alby. That's Kenny Ken. This is Pep Talk UK. Everyone, we will see you soon. Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers, Ken. Thank you.
All right, Jake. Let me go.